The Fabelmans is perhaps the most relatable Steven Spielberg film I've ever seen. It tells a story of what we can assume is based on a young Steven Spielberg, and takes us through a sort of James Joyce Portrait of the Artist as a young man timeline of early youth. We start at the first movie he ever experiences, and he's afraid of it because he doesn't know what to expect. And we see his relationship with film and with art and with the way that he learns to use his creativity. We've seen biopics before where the relationship to music is, it's this thing, I just gotta do it, and it's so explicit. I found this really refreshing and real because the way that it's expressed, his relationship to movies, it's something that he doesn't really have a choice in whether or not he does it. It's part of his life, and the opportunities seem to find him. The passion that he has for it isn't some compulsion, I gotta do it. It's really a feeling of, this is what I have to do. And we've heard millions of people say, I gotta do it. And this really shows what that means without saying it. He doesn't fit in at college, and he's trying to give a normal job and a normal path a chance, but it's just not who he is, and it tears him up. But that's way further along. Along the way, we get amazing performances by Seth Rogen did a really good job. Paul Dano, I've always been a huge fan of it. He's wonderful in this. And there's a couple other cameos, but everybody brought their A game in this. The moments of the immigrant Jewish family clinging to their customs, trying to fit in, trying to establish a sense of identity in a world where it's not the norm, brushing up against anti-Semitism and painting a really good picture of what it was like to grow up in the late 50s, early 60s in America. There's laughs. Genuine earned laughs. And because it's sort of a biographical film that isn't trying to be a biopic, it's not so predictable. And yet it rings true because, the events unfold naturally. When you're a creative and the son of a really practical man, in this case, an engineer who builds toys and computers and works for IBM in the end and is a really smart, intelligent man, you know that you come from the same stuff, and yet you're not driven to do the exact same things. This captures that in such a real way, and we get not a big, overly emotional acceptance of that in the end, but a realistic understanding and respect. We put that up against his mother, who is this free-spirited artist, this musician, who will do everything in her power to grant opportunities for his talent and his gifts to flourish. Other things complicate that and complicate his relationship with both of his parents. And it affects whether or not he feels he should pursue his passion. And for any creative person watching this who's been through the journey of self-acceptance, the realization of what it is that you do, this is a very real commentary on what it means to take those steps. And we finish up with some really true experiences. He gets to meet his hero, and his hero isn't this, inspiring stereotype of the guy you finally get to meet, and once you get he's a jerk, but you know what? He knows what he's talking about. It's a fun cameo, and I won't spoil it for you because it's a really good, quick, poignant cameo. Good use of it. The movie itself has a lot of great self-awareness because it's Spielberg commenting on his own techniques and things that he discovered in his youth, stuff that maybe pointed towards techniques he would use in films later on. And it's such an honest look at what goes into his process. That was really interesting. In other biopics, we don't necessarily see the creative process or the thinking that goes into how they come up with concepts. But he gives away a couple tricks, and I gotta say, he doesn't tell you everything. He really does a great job of communicating the story by showing you. It's, step one, lesson one of storytelling is show, don't tell, and he's really mastered his craft here. Other Spielberg movies I've found, they really spoon feed you, and everything hits exactly as it's supposed to. And I've begrudged him for that because I go, it just feels like a movie. Here, there was so much truth in what he was saying. I could really see why the man's a master. He's even able to put humor into shots. Just the shot, not the line, not the situation, but just he's mastered every aspect of filmmaking enough to tell a really compelling story with characters that feel authentic, situations that can only be true. And yet, I really appreciate that he didn't go and just say, this is Spielberg's autobiography. It's nice that we got some distance from it, that he did turn it into a work of fiction, because then we're not so concerned with whether or not every single thing is true. And so it's sophisticated in that it's not trying to deliver the biopic. It's just a good story. And it is inspirational, but not in a hackneyed way, not in a rote or predictable way. It's just a good slice of life through a couple different periods in this kid's life as he finds himself. And as he deals with not overly ridiculous tragedies, but the types of tragedies that occur in a young person's life. The death of a grandmother, the trials of his parents' marriage, being an older sibling. And for him, dealing with anti-Semitism as he goes into school and changing schools and trying to fit in and figuring out where he does fit in the world. It's almost as if the camera was put into his hands, the passion was there from before birth. I mean, it's like he really was meant to do all of these things, but not in this majestical, magic, unbelievable way. It's really just, it felt like life. And so, I gotta say, I was blown away. I love this movie, and it touched me. It made me laugh. I don't know. It just rang true. Being a big fan of Paul Dano, I also have to say there was a particular scene where they're driving to California from Arizona, and he's in the car, and his wife runs out to sort of sulk on the hillside, which brought me back to the first time I ever really enjoyed one of his performances, which was in Little Miss Sunshine, where his dad pulls over with the whole family in the car, and he runs over to the hillside when he learns he can't be a pilot because he's colorblind. And sort of a full circle moment for Paul Dano, where he's coming into his own as an adult, as an actor who can play these more adult roles, and he nailed it. I don't want to spoil this because it was really a unique ride, a poignant movie, and a good experience. It made almost every other thing I've seen in the last couple of weeks feel like a total waste of film. This is one that will stick with you after you watch it. Whether it makes you laugh or cry or walk out in somber thought and deep contemplation. So I can't recommend it highly enough. I thought this was a great movie. You should go see it.